Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Um, really grateful, as always, to Salton Studios and the team here for helping make these live streams possible for our permaculture community. We're shifting our, we used to, of course, before this pandemic, on our Monday nights, we would always have our groups meet here in South Salt Lake, and then afterwards, we would record a podcast episode with the presenters that would become the Permanent Culture Podcast. And so we're switching that up a little bit. We've got a really great guest for you today, and I'm really excited to have her. But we are kind of switching the format now. We're doing these Monday night live streams that are also for the Permanent Culture Podcast. And so we've got kind of a new intro to what we're doing on our weekly Monday night adventures. And I wanted to read this intro that we're working on, get you in the spirit of what we're doing, and then we're going to start talking with Rikki Longino, Vice Chair of the Utah Permaculture Collective. So starting off here, imagine in full theatric mode. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Permanent Culture Podcast and live stream with your host, Michael Cundick, chairperson of the Utah Permaculture Collective and an all-around hardworking advocate for the rapid yet conscious transition to the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. This is the story of the permaculture movement here on this indigenous land known as Utah and beyond, and the creative forces that are coming together to form healthy, resilient communities living in harmony with nature. We go live with our community every Monday evening, and we invite you to join us so we can take your comments and questions as the show unfolds. On behalf of our sponsors, the Utah Permaculture Collective and Salton Studios, thank you for helping us create a permanent culture in service to life. So today, zooming in for proper pandemic purposes from her beautiful space on this corner of the planet, we've got Rikki Longino. Thank you, Rikki, for joining us today.
Hello.
I'm grateful for having had you on the show in the past. We did a podcast episode together, and I know many in our permaculture community definitely know who you are, but I would love to kind of remind people just a little bit about some of the projects you're involved in and maybe just introduce yourself in the way that you do.
Hi. Well, I go by Erica or Rikki, and I'm the founder of the Mobile Moon Co-op, which is a female and queer collective that strives to use botanical stewardship and regeneration as a tool for education and empowerment within the community. I am zooming in from the garden where I live. I'm sitting under a goji berry tree that started as a bush 3 years ago and is now just a beautiful grandmother of a tree. I am in so-called West Salt Lake City. It's occupied Ute, Goshute, and Paiute land. And we are kind of just blossoming into spring right now, and I couldn't resist reaching you all from the garden because I feel like this is really where the power and action is of the time. I think just the permaculture movement really starts at zone zero. Herbalism is a realm that's really close to my heart because I feel like it is so individualized. And each spring that seeds germinate and these little seedlings sprout out of the ground, this brings this renewed sense of hope and kind of breath of life as we all kind of cycle through our own narratives and stories and difficulties and struggles. There's no denying that this period is fraught with inequality and injustice, and it's a lot to face. You know, who's getting into the hospitals and who's not making it right now, and who has the ability to garden and the resources to install a beautiful permaculture paradise, and who just has to, you know, serve at Walmart in order to get by and eat really processed food. So to me, herbalism is kind of a toolbox to be able to get resources to people who wouldn't otherwise get it, and to have like a greater global understanding of how we can serve life. Not save the planet, we're not saving the earth, we're really just kind of in Michael's campaign about being in service to life. So yeah, that's a little bit of a snapshot of what's been going on in my world.
I feel like that's the most activist description of herbalism I might have ever heard before. It's very exciting to think about how much abundance it can bring and how accessible it always historically has been, and perhaps in this time of growing awareness about our ecological resources and our connection with the world as we're taking this collective breath. Again, herbalism can start to have its place at the table, so to speak. You've been involved with herbalism and permaculture and the Mobile Moon Co-op for, tell me more about kind of your background with that. What got you to this point?
Well, both my parents are in fields of biology, study of life. They're professors, and so I grew up with this kind of understanding and love of the natural environment. And ever since I was young, I just loved being in the woods and seeing little fairy homes. And so it's been ingrained for a very long time. And my parents were always kind of showing me plants and giving me the names. And they would give me the Latin name and the more common name. And then I would kind of like come up with names for them myself because I feel like plants have this ever-evolving personality. You know, they grow in funny ways. You know, one thing that I like with herbalism is to be able to kind of see a signature of a plant and be like, oh, you know, that is something, and it's in the Lamiaceae family, which is a lot of herbs like the mint, lemon balm, and sages are in Lamiaceae. So not the desert sages, but like the garden sages like this. And then if you go in the mountains, you start to see these like square stems and the way that the leaves grow opposite. Oh, it's a Lamiaceae, and it's probably a beneficial herb in some capacity. So you see horehound in the mountains and nettle. I guess nettle is a urtica, but then you can really start to get to know what plants are your friends and what plants maybe you don't want to mess around with too much. So ever since I was young, I got really into the non-human world, in a really intimate and wonderful way. And as I grew up, I kind of started to understand how, you know, not everybody has access to that kind of stuff, and I wanted to be able to share it, and especially not just study it and not just like take data and research on it like my parents, but really learn how it can be used, learn how to consume it in a way that's conscientious and mindful for medicine and for food. I got really interested in sustainable agriculture when I was in high school, and I took my permaculture design certification right after high school because it was so exciting to me to think about these cool systems of, you know, food and ecology and humanity all together. And then ever since then, I've been working in gardens and farms, and really just in the last 5 years, I've really gotten deeper into realms of herbalism and kind of studying the more transformative or profoundly moving effects of plants on people, because I really feel like there's a lot of power there. And just ever since this pandemic, people have been approaching me and asking me all kinds of questions. I feel like I just started too late. How do I know everything about herbalism and all the plants? It feels like it's too late. But to me, it feels like once you start learning about herbalism, it's almost a remembering rather than a starting something new. Herbs and plant medicine have been embedded in our genetic code. And so once you start seeing plants and seeing that kind of signature of like, oh, that leaf means it's in the shape. So I actually know that one is one that I can make a tea out of, and will help me kind of communicate with this world and go a little bit deeper. And you have to just start somewhere. There's also a lot of great resources out there. I have been into this one at Medicinal Plants of the Mountain West by this kind of like pretty well-known herbalist named Michael Moore. He's just like so intimately involved in the plants of the Mountain West. And just something that keeps coming up to me as people get more and more interested in this is how we're harvesting. And it's really important, like you see something, oh, I know that one is OSHA, or I know that's a native plant. It really advises you to like think about your own ancestry, and many native plants here that are medicinal are endangered because of overharvest, such as OSHA. And it might just not even have the same medicinal properties to somebody whose ancestors are colonizers versus somebody whose ancestors are indigenous to this land. That's something I've just been really getting into lately, is how what medicine is medicine to us, in the sense that it will like heal our emotional traumas or histories and relationships to the land.
Thank you.
So if you have,
I love your passion for this so much, and I'm so glad you brought up that like it's not too late to get involved with anything. Like when that remembering hits, it's a beautiful process that unfolds. What was the name of that book one more time that you were showing us, that you were recommending?
It's called Medicinal Plants of the Mountain West.
Medicinal Plants of the Mountain West by Michael Moore, but not the filmmaker Michael Moore, right?
Not that guy.
Okay, not that guy. Fair enough.
Big guy.
There's a lot to talk about right now. I know you're involved in a lot of things, and I think there's a lot of really pertinent information out in the ether sphere that we want to bring to people. One thing I want to remind folks as we kind of shift other topics is that you're welcome to leave comments and questions throughout this live stream, and we'll do our best to answer them all and respond to all of them as this goes on, so that we have a chance to collectively grow together and answer some good questions. One thing I think is important is like when we've got this big shift happening in the world, and a lot of people, their first thought is like, how will I grow food, right? They're not necessarily thinking about the intricacies of the whole ecosystem. They're just like, I want some veggies. How do I make the veggies, right? And that comes up a lot in the initiative that I've been putting a lot of time into, along with other community members, called the Neighborhood Resiliency Initiative. And that one is very focused on let's increase the organic urban food supply with communal gardening projects and work together safely during this pandemic to increase the food supply. But of course, my background in permaculture, it's coming up more and more. How do we plan for the peripheries, the niches, the overall ecosystem? How do we put together a garden and a system that's going to last and be pleasurable for people and make sense for the way that the land works? And I think it's important to bring up herbalism and permaculture and good design as this movement is spreading to get more involved in growing food in a localized way. What kind of permaculture principles or things would you bring up to folks that are really interested in increasing their food security? And also, how does it play out in some of the programs that we're working on as a collective, like the Permablitz Program? Kind of maybe tune us into that and give some tips for more holistic approaches to not just growing food, but what do we do with the big picture?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think when you really pull things into perspective, it's like, so I don't know if it's so true, but I heard that Utah was like the #1 hoarding state in the country. Like grocery stores were the hardest hit by the state, and they had the most shortage because people were just buying everything on the rack. And I think a big kind of idea around permaculture is to kind of share more, and that hoarding is actually really harmful. And so there's this idea of like mutual aid being a really big part of the system. You don't necessarily have to provide everything, but you can provide the tools that you do have access to. And yeah, so the next thing we were going to talk about was permablitzes, and I think that's a really good example of how we can lend our.
So what is a permablitz for those that are new to the term?
What is it? It's basically just kind of a community coming together and helping somebody install a permaculture garden or system for themselves that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do on their own. So it would kind of be, we would be able to offer a plan and spend some time observing and interacting with your site. So whether you own a house or a space, or you're renting and your landlord or lady is okay with you creating something on site. In this vein, we got a grant from Slow Food, the Utah chapter of Slow Food, to install 4 gardens for people, or permaculture systems. And basically, it would involve this process, this period of planning, observing, and interacting with the first principles, and then creating a guideline map for you to work with. And then we'd have a day where anywhere from 5 to 30 people would come onto your site and help you install whatever bed, plants. If you want a pond, like that's a possibility. If you want to have chickens, kind of like whatever your priorities are, and you need a lot of human power to come install, that's what a permablitz is. Like, not only are you creating, features on your land and plants, but also you're creating kind of a community that's invested in space. And it's just really valuable that, you plant an apple tree, that can bear thousands of pounds of apples throughout its life and outlive you.
Now, I want to say something that normally by this time in May, you would see a lot of events locally about permablitzes happening. This is one of our big times of the year. But of course, the pandemic has really caused an interesting delay in some of the ways that we would normally organize and do things, trying to figure out having 30 people on a site right now, all sharing food and tools, is kind of not the ideal situation. And that's part of where the necessity of the Neighborhood Resiliency Initiative has kind of come forth, is this kind of like restructuring of how to provide communal support in a way that has, the proper masks and the social distancing and the sanitation efforts, and also allows to kind of just focus on the annual garden bed space, just kind of a very direct message. Let's get a garden planted. But the permablitzes, normally we do a lot of them in the spring, and we're talking about planning for fall installations. And in a lot of ways, this actually gives us more time to be more deliberate and more conscientious and put more time into design, which ultimately always pays off, right? Like one of the permaculture sayings is like, spend 100 hours for every 100 hours thinking and planning for every hour that you actually go and do some work. That might be kind of extreme, but that level of intentionality is a real hallmark. It's why permaculture exists, and it's not just called gardening, right? Maybe talk a little bit about how it's different to use permaculture in the process of planning for your yard, or maybe some things to think about along those lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a concept that I've been really enjoying is the idea of adaptive planning. So you can put something in place, like, okay, this would be a great place for a swale. But then once you're actually installing it, you might find some different factor. And so to not be really like upset that your original plan didn't happen, but just to be able to fluidly adapt. And I think that's just the superpower of humans in general. We're very adaptable, and that's why we have technology. And in this time when things are changing so rapidly, it just becomes all the more essential. Okay, how do we adapt this plan and not throw it out and come up with something all new altogether, but just to make small adjustments and changes and evolution until you have something that feels really good. I wanted to show my tool belt that I've been using a lot in just my gardening in the day path.
Ooh, I'm jealous of your tool belt, Rikki. That looks really cool.
It's really simple. It's just a belt and some bags. And it has like a little pouch for scissors, and I have my pruners, and I usually have my hand trowel in here. I have a Sharpie and some bed labels, and of course, a little feed packet. So it's really, you get a Permablitz. You can guarantee I'll be wearing that tool belt. We're going to be like, oh God.
Very cool.
Taking notes. Michael, do you remember when people are supposed to get their applications in, Mike?
Yes, we are accepting applications until the beginning of June, June 6th was it, I think, right?
I think it's the 5th.
The June
and then
5th.
We'll consider
'Kay.
15th.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we can have our dates straight a little bit later, but it's right there on the application, and I will. We should post that the UPC Permablitz. Do you remember the little link that we have for it?
It's bit.ly/UPC Permablitz.
Great, pretty simple. So this is the time to be applying. If you want that communal push, whether resources are tight or time is tight or knowledge is tight, whatever it is that's causing this need for a communal push, but you know you've got the perfect site for a permaculture system to go in, this is a great time to get your application in. We're taking them for the next month until June 5th. We'll be taking applications, and then we're going to be deciding, having follow-ups for the 4 people that we can do installs on this year. So please go ahead and sign up for a Permablitz, because that's really a huge hallmark. One of the initial visions and one of the repetitive things we've been doing as a permaculture collective for the last 3 years has been this desire to come together and provide that mutual aid and get those gardens installed. So don't hesitate to sign up. I want to check with Sam real quick. Have we been getting any kind of comments or questions? And if no, remember people, if you do have some questions about herbs or permablitzes, while we have Rikki here for the next 20 minutes, 30 minutes or so, you're welcome to leave a comment or question. So doing good. All right. So Rikki, you're doing lots of stuff. Yeah, the world's changing a lot, and you're a girl in demand. Tell me more about what's been going on in your world and anything else you want to share.
Yeah, well, beyond permablitzes and getting excited about mapping technology, GIS stuff, I got a job, really special kind of like duty at this time. I feel really fortunate at the main library. They have a community garden that's called The Block. Very appropriate for a library, and I've always seen the library as a space that's far more than books. So much about ways to help everyone and create a safe space to learn and connect and meet. So it's just felt really open. We hosted Robin Wall Kimmerer both at the UPC fundraiser and also at the main library auditorium. It was so special to be able to have her in a space in a over 200 person auditorium with no standing room. The library is really like a node, and so I was able to be the garden coordinator there. And so it's usually a community garden, so kind of people have their own plot that they come and manage. But unfortunately, the whole library had to close, including the garden. And so unfortunately, we were unable to house our community gardeners. Heartbreaking. But at the same time, that all the gardeners have been able to, find other gardening spaces just through the amazing community connections. Somebody said, I have extra room in my backyard for community gardeners, and then community gardeners get to go there. And instead of having those individuals come garden, we, Emmett Wilson and I, who are the co-garden coordinators, were able to be in the garden enough to grow out those beds and just donate the food that we produce. So we just planted a bunch of sweet potatoes and tomatoes and chard and basil and lettuce and we are planting 4 beds that are the Three Sisters. So we're going to be doing corn, beans, and squash all together. We're really excited just to see where this is going to go. And we're actually looking for partners who need food. I guess food security is the number one scarcity or fear in the community right now. The need is food. And so we are hoping to donate to folks who need these like really amazing, like medicinal quality food, just as fresh as you can get and made without any harsh chemicals or pesticides, and just compost made on site. It's really good quality stuff, and it has so much like energetic beauty in it. So if anybody knows of good places to distribute this food, we would love to get in touch. The other thing that we're doing, and the other program associated with this, is our seed library. So we have a connection with Mountain Valley Seed Company. It's a local seed company, and they source all of their seeds really sustainably and ethically. And they are unable to sell the seed factor in 2019. And so we can take those seed donations and redistribute them to the community. And we've actually been doing mail order seeds from the seed library. There's no catch. You don't have to even be a member of the library to participate. And these are kind of a lot of the seeds that you're getting are just packed for 2019. Carrots, calendula, pumpkins, tomatoes, a lot of herbs, thyme. So if you are looking for seeds, it's a really good resource of free seeds. If you want and are able to return your seeds at the end of the season, we just encourage that you save the seeds that you grow out and bring them back to the seed library if at the time the library is open.
So how do people connect with that resource again? You were saying they can reach out and get some seeds right now. I know that comes up a lot.
Mm-hmm. I can post a link. You kind of have to navigate through the SLCPL page, the main library, and then go to the plot garden. And there's a link there for the seed library, and so you can see our catalog.
Gotcha. So I bet we'll get the link and post it later too, but then also I bet if you were to search like downtown Salt Lake Library, seed library, would you think it would help pull up as well?
That's a good question. It does for me, but I work there, so I feel like Google works in strange ways, and some people have had a difficult time navigating to it. So I would just go through the library website.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. You're doing really, really good work. Do you see a lot of people getting seeds? Are you guys able to keep up with the orders all right? And like, how's that going? I bet that's quite a trick.
Oh my, we've had almost 700 orders. So we've kind of turned into a 2-person, just like small seed business, kind of like medium-sized seed business, actually. And I think it's just so amazing that the library is like open to this. Like we have enough budget that we can just ship these seeds out. Which is, I feel like if I could choose how to spend taxes, I would be like, give some money to the library and the public schools and, these like public parks and not the military.
Yeah.
It's so important to have these public spaces and, just like there's so much good potential in people working for the common good and for the public. And it's just so rewarding, and it also feels so good to receive stuff like this. And, if all the power of the military went towards saving seeds and farming and bringing seeds and gardens to people, we would just have such a different world. And that's the world that I'm looking forward to. Like, my sincere hope is that all of this chaos and loss and restriction of freedom will make people realize how beautiful life is and that we don't need nationalistic wars. And we can hopefully come into a space where we're more grounded in the necessities and the beautiful things in life and see ourselves as an interconnected organism. Like, why are we fighting ourselves? We're just like, we're all mycelium, and just, we don't need to destroy each other. We need to support each other. A little bit idealistic, but it's really what keeps me going in all of this.
What a beautiful vision and message to share with everybody. I'm so grateful for these Monday night, these ability to kind of keep our community together using these beautiful technologies and share those gorgeous ideas. And this has been a powerful opportunity to speak with you, Rikki, and hear about, why herbalism is important, and a great book to get into that and how to incorporate that. And, your work on the Permaculture Collective board, helping get this program ready to go so we can teach people and help give the gift of permaculture in our community a lot more and support people with that. Your work at the library is inspiring. I'm glad to hear that so many people are getting seeds and are starting gardens, and all the posts that are coming up, and and then to get kind of bigger with it. I know I'm just kind of repeating what you were saying, but my goodness, like, we do need to be funding and prioritizing these beautiful community spaces and start to reevaluate our priorities. I 100% agree with you, and I'm so glad that we've been able to share this message with folks tonight. Is there anybody else commenting or having any questions today? Or is Rikki just saying it all perfectly? Because that does happen.
Douglas Wood says he doesn't have any questions, but he loves you nerds.
Douglas Wood has no questions, but he sure loves us nerds. So thank you, Douglas. Yep, plant nerds are the best nerds. I love it.
I met Douglas at the Edible Campus Gardens of the University of Utah.
Oh, yeah?
Stellar human.
Oh, good.
Everybody check out their music.
What music? Is there a band name?
Oh my gosh.
I shouldn't put you on the spot like that. Douglas Wood's band is awesome. Cool. I love it. Well, thank you, Rikki. Is there anything else alive in you right now? Anything coming up that you want to share while we got some people watching?
Oh, well, it's just so wonderful outside. I really recommend being outside as much as possible and protecting your delicate skin from the sunshine, but still like smelling the air as it's never been cleaner. Oh, it's beautiful. But also stay away from groups when you are outside.
Yeah. So stay safe out there. And I hope that most people watching this are already pretty drawn to being outdoors and to get that experience. But you never know. We've got some people that are, living permaculture vicariously or are new to the movement. And yeah, I can't imagine how much more difficult this last period of life would be if I hadn't had a garden to work in and people to connect with in those ways, and be in nature, but with spacing and safety always in mind as well. So thank you. I'm glad to see you enjoying your beautiful yard and your beautiful goji and sharing all your wonderful activities, Rikki. Thanks for being the guest tonight.
I just ate a sage blossom. Very strong flavor.
Yeah. So try a sage blossom. Do you have I think you mentioned you had something cool coming up with the Mobile Moon Co-op. Do you have any releases happening? Any fun things?
Well, the garden. Okay, so the Mobile Moon Co-op also includes a half-acre garden. I'm not there right now, but there's a converted 40-foot school bus down there, turned into like an apothecary and zine library. There's a lot of really beautiful creators and makers who have just made that space possible and magical. And usually every equinox and solstice, kind of midpoint of the year, we have zine releases. And since we can't actually have a physical gathering, last year we did like a fundraiser gala in the middle of summer for the solstice. We are launching a summer solstice symposium as our zine release. And instead of printing out physical copies for this one, we're just going to have downloadable links to these zines. And we also want to get voices of herbalists and creators, artists, like people, to just kind of create a symposium on the summer solstice. So we have a few people lined up, but if that sounds like something that would be down your alley, it doesn't necessarily have to be like an herbal workshop, like that's a thing. But if you have art or music or something else interesting that you think would be applicable for June 21st, we're just going to be doing like the live stream virtual symposium.
Is that going to be, when is summer solstice? Is that right around then?
Yep, right mid-June.
Well, maybe,
right around when we announced the Permablitz recipients, actually.
Cool.
Right after that.
Maybe the Permaculture Collective can get behind that and celebrate the solstice with the Mobile Moon Co-op and as well. That's great.
Awesome.
Cool. So that's great. If you have something you want to present at to celebrate the solstice around herbalism and community, they're doing a live stream for the solstice. So definitely get involved if you feel called to that. Again, reminder, it's the time to apply for a Permablitz if you're here in Utah. It's a great program that we've been developing for years, and important to keep those installs up. And I love it. It's been so good talking to you, Rikki. Is there anything else you want to bring up before you go back to soaking in the sunset?
Maybe we can just take a nice collective breath together. Does that sound cozy?
I think that sounds cozy.
Okay, so you can close your eyes. Drop into your body. Notice where you have aches and pains, or you're feeling nervous tension, and just try to relax that. And then take a deep breath in through your nose, filling up your entire lung cavity, feeling each rib expand a little bit more and stretch that tissue between the ribs, opening up the chest, and then holding, and then breathing out through the mouth. Feeling all of the air drain gratefully from your chest. You can just keep doing that.
That was a beautiful breath. Thanks, Rikki. Well, I appreciate you being on the show, and we'll let people get back to their evenings. Huge reminder that the Neighborhood Resiliency Initiative is just getting lots and lots of momentum as we've been working with community members to launch it. We're in our beta phase, and we're now sharing the database, connecting volunteers with mentors, landowners, resource donors, and organizers to put all those dots together. So this is for people that are serious about growing food this year and want to connect for communal gardening projects. So please visit neighborhoodresiliency.com and sign up if this calls to you. We've had close to 100 signups already across the valley and even beyond. We've had some people from other states and even someone from Australia think it sounded cool. So hopefully we can even get it beyond the Utah communities if it really starts to take off the way our steering council seems to think it is going to. So get involved and enjoy the sunshine. And thank you so much for tuning into the Permaculture, the Permanent Culture podcast and live stream today. So thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
When the morning light reveals us and our consequences clear, and all our fruitless aspirations are hanging heavy in the air, well, we rise like lions after slumber and rage against the dying light. Be the change we're here to offer, be a lighthouse in the night. 'Cause we are walking into darkness with lights upon our backs, people counting on our senses with a compass but no maps. In service to life we find our answer. Look again, not all is lost. See the endless gifts of nature through the power of your love. And I'm not saying there's no darkness, but there's a silver lining there. We can release what doesn't serve us in distraction and despair. The living earth wants us whole, and there will be blessings like they've been for me. And there will be healing like there is for us. So pack your bags and don't look backwards. I can tell you've done your work. You are the change you're here to offer. You are the dreamer woken up. Shambhala warriors are arising, fulfilling prophecies of old. So gather your sisters and your cousins, turn yourselves to solid gold. 'Cause we are walking into darkness with lights upon our backs, and we can get through damn near anything if we're grounded in our task. In service to life we find our answer. Look again, not all is lost. See the endless gifts of nature through the power of your love. And I'm not saying there's no darkness, but there's a silver lining there. We can release what doesn't serve us in distraction and despair. The living earth wants us whole, and there will be blessings like they've been for me. And there will be healing like there is for us. In service to life, in service to life, in service to life, in service to life, in service to life. In service to life, in service to life, in service to life. I am in service to life. You are in service to life. We are in service to life. It's all in service to life. Forest gospel in service to life. Ecstatic dance in service to life. Air protectors in service to life. Permaculture's in service to life. Regeneration in service to life. Salt Lake in service to life. Utah's in service to life. One love in service to life. One nation in service to life. One world in service to life. The whole universe in service to life. It's all in service to life. So rise like lions after slumber. Rage against the dying light. Be the change you're here to offer. Be a lighthouse in the night.